Hello, Culture Matters podcast. We're back again with 30 Days of Thought with Andrew Berman, Paul Lucido. Andrew.
The crowd went wild. Hello, everyone. Good to be back here. So we're going to start off with a quote. Today, actually, we are doing Getting Stuck. This is from 30 Days of Thought. Jay, Paul, and myself, Andrew Berman, meet up just about every Saturday morning. Of course, sometimes we get stuck. We don't show up, but we've been unstuck for this one. So we usually start off with a quote, but today actually I'm going to start us off with a quote here. So this is from Calvin Coolidge. Nothing in the world can take the place of persistence. Talent will not. Nothing more is common than unsuccessful men with talent. Genius will not. Unrewarded genius is almost a proverb. Education will not. The world is full of educated derelicts. Persistence and determinations are omnipotent. The slogan, press on, has solved and always will solve the world problems of the human race. Calvin Coolidge.
Holy shit.
That was quite a quote.
Right? Isn't that perfect for this?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Andrew, thanks for helping us get unstuck today, kicking us off. I would like to know what. So wait, hold on a second. That was Calvin Coolidge.
Yeah.
I remember writing this excerpt.
You think he stole it from you? Shit. Is he like the Jay Shetty of back then?
I remember. So halfway through the excerpt, do you remember this part? The words are but useless dribble jotted on the page or consisting of philosophical rants perpetuated over run-on sentences. The woes of creativity reign true the longer we continue to labor solutions to problems. Sometimes the only way to save face is to just show up. I remember thinking that I was such a loser writing this book and like losing, like I was stuck. That's what I was stuck. And I was talking about myself, the run on Senate, like, what the hell am I doing with this whole project? Like writing this specific, and then my hand, my hand was whoa, that's so psychological.
You were stuck at the moment that you were writing this.
No, I actually didn't have use of my hand at that time. So
Oh, shit.
I just went like this, not thinking about it. Because I had to hold the pen like this. Because I didn't have use of my hand. I had a permanent nerve damage in my right hand. And I had to start writing the book. Originally, I was writing like I'm a righty, so I would write. But I remember feeling stuck, like being stuck.
Interesting.
I want to commend you too, Andrew, for kicking us off today. That was an exciting for our listeners that don't listen to all the episodes. We've been doing this for some time and even years. And I think Paul mentioned it before, just how much of a badass you are. You always been. But there's like levels of badass. Like, what's that Homer Simpson episode where he's like, Homer tomorrow is gonna hate me for eating the jar of mayonnaise, but it works in the inverse, or I've said that to you before about me tomorrow or me in a year is gonna think that the today version of me was nothing compared to a year from now.
Yeah.
So I commend you for that introduction and that quote. What a thoughtful way to start off the show. I have questions about the quote. I wanted to look it up myself. That's why I was asking about it. Calvin Coolidge. It was a quote on getting on genius.
Persistent, perseverance.
Hmm. Paul, what came to mind when you were listening to that quote?
Well, a couple things came to mind. I mean, for me, and you have to understand there was influence through your book as well, because I was reading your quote. And in fact, if you'd like, I would like to read that quote really quick,
Please.
just because it'll keep it in alignment with what we're talking about. So with respect to getting stuck, this is going to speak to pretty much getting unstuck, right? So life, writing, winning, and humanity, all the same, are about getting unstuck. Preserve in due course. Your message is commitment and solidarity, obviously unity and, commitment and working together, getting unstuck. And so for me, when I read that, and then I read the your analogy, you used the terminology, my hand was cramped and literally I was stuck. Well, that was a physical thing. But I take this more metaphorically. Writers have writer's block. It happens. And sometimes you need that in order to go to that next level. This happens in anything. It happens with creativity. My son and I talk about this all the time with regard to creativity. Sometimes the creative well is dry and it's difficult to move forward. So what I do when I hit those writer's blocks, that creative block, or there's a block in your relationship, or there is something that's impeding you from moving forward, everything's in front of you. You got all the tools, you got everything you need. It's there. How do you get past that and get unstuck? Diversion is one way. That's what I do. I divert. Go for a walk, do something different, think about something else, something that will distract me, that will allow that process to flow naturally. And then when you come back to it, you're ready. That's literally one of the things I will do typically to get unstuck, is to divert. It's not like you're shunning your responsibilities, but sometimes you've got to walk away and then come back to it. So that's the short of it. There are other thoughts I have too, which we can get into, but that was one of the things that came to my mind almost immediately.
Paul, I want to ask you about, because Nietzsche said all truly great thoughts are conceived by walking.
Hmm.
Was there something literal in that, on the walk away? Or did you
Well,
ever walk
there
or
is.
observe that in others, that walking, or
Yes.
even like throughout your career with some of the top performers or leaders that you're in the C-suite, see like how people processed and have process responsibility, anxiety, in the face of anxiety, and
Yes. Yeah, I think you nailed it right there. So, and Andrew, you and I have talked about this many times. So, a lot of times, let's stick with something that's, close to me that I could relate to. So, let's talk creativity, coming up with ideas, processing thought, driving, the shower, sometimes even listening to music. For some people, it could be just watching television, weirdly enough. But when your mind is preoccupied, we got the left brain, right brain thing, reptilian, mammalian. Driving, for example, they say the reptilian brain takes over in driving because it's trying to keep you from getting killed, right? Your body is just, you're watching the road, you're watching it, but you're not really aware that you're watching it the way you think you are. Your mind is trying to be preoccupied by making sure you could get to work safely. During that process, something happens in the synapse where the other side of your brain is literally drifting. It's like Einstein staring out the window in class, coming up with thoughts, right? He was doing thought experiments, which he got really bad grades because he did those things, but that's what he did. I remember as a kid doing that too. I'm not trying to relate to Einstein, but literally sitting on my window ledge as a child, looking out the window, just daydreaming and thinking about things. That's back to Lightman talking about in praise of wasting time. Sometimes you need that to create critical thinking. And so you need to let your mind wander a little bit, especially when you get stuck. So when you find yourself getting stuck and you go, I can't come up with the answer, or I have no more words to put on paper, or you know what, Chat GPT is just not giving me what I think I need, whatever it is, you use to develop whatever you develop. The idea is, how do you get unstuck? So the walking piece, going back to the walking piece that Nietzsche said, I believe that that's more than metaphorical. I think there's a process. I think back then, probably in his time, there was no driving. So he's literally walking out his thoughts, looking at nature, letting his mind wander until it comes to him. And that's what I believe to be true. And that's worked
Have you
for
ever seen
me.
people that you like, high performers that
Yes, Gary Malice is the first guy that comes to my mind. Gary Malice, who works for our company, PRMG, in this instant, he is a chief strategy capital markets officer, also a partner of the company. I catch him a lot out my window. I'm on the third floor and I watch Gary. He's got his phone, but he's pacing and he's going all around the perimeter of of, we'll call it the courtyard, the complex. And he
wow,
does it a
cool.
lot. Now, whether that's helping him, I don't know, but my gut tells me that's his moment to divert, to get away from it for a minute, to let his mind
So,
process. Now, there are other people that walk too, and I see them walk. Robert Holliday does most of his business on his feet. He probably blows by my office door. Hell, I'm going to say, and I'm not exaggerating, maybe 40 times a day that I can think of that I see him go by, maybe the whole day. And
so
so he's
Paul,
on his
just
phone, but I think the walking and moving is part of that dynamic I'm talking about. And so, anyway, that's my thought on that.
with someone like
The,
Gary
the
is
remainder of the show, I'm just gonna.
So you get say Gary is on he has his phone. Is he when he's walking, is he not looking at his phone and just walking and just in thought?
It's both. I've seen him do both. I'll say this: I think it's part of his regiment. But to your point, Andrew, yeah, I'm at a distance. It appears I could see him looking at his phone. Sometimes he's talking, sometimes he's not. He's just grooving. And I think Gary, coming from a creative family, his son is very creative. His wife is
Yeah.
actually a pretty creative person too. She's creative in the sense that she's a thinker, and I think that whole family just has something about them where I think Gary understands the necessity to divert like that. I really do. At the same token, these guys never sleep. You know, I always make jokes that if you text them at 2 a.m, be prepared, somebody's going to respond to you. So be careful what you put out there. But I do believe Gary
Oh, that's a really
practiced.
good place. Or go ahead. No, no.
No, that's it. I don't. I'm curious as to your
Mm,
feedback on that, but
there's
that's it. Yeah.
well, number one is you said sleep, right? Or it's hyperbole, but there's some truth to it in the sense that they're the accessibility. Is it possible that there's a relationship between accessibility and momentum?
I
Hmm.
think there might be.
Because getting stuck, right? Like, how do we how do we okay, there's like more of a philosophical, is it possible to avoid getting stuck? That's a quandary we can explore today. Or is it about shortening the gap, or what degree can we shorten it? And like, what relationship could, so my, okay, when I heard about the accessibility, right? Someone that is accessible, all right, okay, well, why? It's like, well, it seems like they're paying attention. And what relationship does paying attention have with the goal? What relate vision, competence? Like, so anyway, those are some things that arise. Like, is accessibility. If I'm suffocating from the unknown, I'm in a state of debilitating angst. I'm stuck. Why would I want to receive calls, talk to people, meet with people respond quickly to my people. There's like shame wrapped up in that. There's pride wrapped up in that. So I would say, well, the leaders that I have seen, the most their accessibility, like speed to contact,
Mhm.
it has a right. Is a connection
Yeah.
with the connection of the people. So I think there's something there to explore when it comes to being stuck or not, and what relationship does momentum have with accessibility. And but Paul, yeah, help me.
No, but momentum. So momentum is a big part of it. I see where you're going. You also are going down another path that I think we should dive into, and that is, so let's stick with the silo over here. So you know the old adage, fake it till you make it. So sometimes you got to just keep moving in a direction. You got to keep pushing forward, pulling through, doing whatever you need to do to get where you need to get to. I am a firm believer in doing that. Sometimes you just have to start and overcome the paralysis. We are all human. I don't care who you are. Everybody experiences this. We like to preach the idea of getting through, pulling through, climbing the mountain, overcoming, surmounting. I get all that. But if we're being truthful with ourselves, we all know what people really want to hear is what happens when you can't move forward? What do you do to get through it? My dad, and I got to give a lot of credit to my father, his sage wisdom since I was a kid is, Paul, sometimes you just got to get up and walk away and then come back. And that has worked for me my whole entire life. Now, maybe you could say, well, that's how you were raised, and therefore you applied that principle. You believed it with all your heart. And to this day, here I am at my age, and I still do it. But it works. I do it when I create something. I finish it, and I look at it, and I get up, I go, I get a cup of coffee, I do something, go talk to somebody, I come back, and I look at it and see if it still hits me the same way. If I look at it and go, that's it, oh my God, this is it. Or I go, you know what? I'm not feeling it. That's sometimes what helps you, that helps you advance and really do the best possible job you could do. But I believe that when you find yourself literally feeling immobilized, when you can't get out of something, you need to divert. You need to divert and you need to go do something else temporarily, momentarily, to let your mind unplug and give you an opportunity to process that other thought. It's subconsciously that other thing is getting worked out. It's like dreaming, it's like getting a good night's sleep.
Wow.
So, listen,
Is that why we need retreats? Is that why we go to these
you
communities?
need
Is
you
that
need
why?
reprieve. You need reprieve. All work and no play makes Johnny a dull boy. You need some kind of a way to do what you need to do to give you that moment to go, okay, I got clarity. I'm ready to go back in and I'm excited to go back into it. And so that's really what I got out of your book, because your book is really trying to give the message that, hey, sometimes you just got to start moving in a direction, and you do. It's scary when you're moving in a direction, you're kind of swimming in uncharted waters and you're going, I don't know what I'm doing, but you got to do it. Get a little comfortable with being uncomfortable, like we say, and before you know it, things start to manifest.
I was
That's
writing this specific excerpt the day that I wrote it was to get unstuck, which is why the topic ended up being about being,
mm,
because I didn't, like, I was stuck and didn't. This is the 16th excerpt in the or give or take in the book, the 16th aphorism. So like instead of not writing the book or not doing what had to happen, and that happens all the time. It's a heuristic that I use to. I don't think it would ever finish the book had I not had that. But talking about it, and then that led to a metaphor or like was a granule of truth in that very fact that I
yeah.
was stuck and in doubt, and so why not just write about it, right? Like,
But now you're
Yeah.
talking about doubt. See, now you're talking about a different type of being stuck. You're doubting yourself, and that self-doubt is holding you back. How do you overcome the self-doubt? How do you build that confidence
Well,
back?
yeah, doubt and anxiety they have a deep relationship with one another.
Yes.
Because right, the anxiety is a component of our self of our humanity, and it has a relationship with the unknown and the known in a Petersonian sense. Okay, the unknown, what could happen, what we think should happen, what we want to happen. The known, what is happening, or that, right? It's like, what do I have on my uh, what do I have on my plate right now that is unfinished? One, two, three, four, five. Angst going up. What are the consequences of not finishing those things? Angst going up higher. Now right now, or anxiety leads to then, like, oh, what if I focus on the outcome, what will happen if I don't do this? Is that helping me get it done, or is that further leading to more anxiety, which then
Mm.
could lead to rationalization? Oh, I don't even need to do it because of this reason, because of that reason, because of that reason. That we're in we're in this battle, like, of these different, right, uh, personalities, ways to represent ourselves in the world, and living between the future and the past. What I didn't do that I should have done, that I'm holding on to, that's influencing how I show up with what I have to do now, that has a predictive quality of what the consequences will be, good or bad, if I I do or don't do those things. And then there's, like, that's all wrapped up in the greater goals of, like, what I want from my life and who I want to be and who I think I should be. So
Right.
it's tied to our identities. Just a
No, this
light
is interesting.
conversation today. Well, I really got a lot from around this conversation, going through that Beyond Order book. Of course, maps of meaning, but I haven't done that for the Culture Matters podcast yet. But the Beyond Order book, the 14-part series on the show, like, where I went rule by rule, it really addresses some of these topics.
Hmm.
But doubt and anxiety because are inextricably linked.
I
So,
agree. I would be curious, Andrew, what are your thoughts?
and I think, yeah, like doubt and anxiety, and this is, listen, I'm going to speak for myself, my own personal experience. Like, I'll have, like sometimes I'm stuck because I can't think. I'm having difficulty moving forward. Will I do it right? Do I have everything to finish that process? Will procrastination reward me with something?
Boom.
Will I be, will I just say, okay, if I just do this later, will I be rewarded with some new piece of information that will come to me? And sometimes it's actually, saying, okay, I'm not going to do this now. I'm going to do this later, and I will do something else. But and here's something, it's writing down a word, forcing yourself to move forward on something, to get unstuck, can be really, really powerful. Now, if you have, that reprieve, or that respite from the task to do something, whether you're walking around or doing something, and then come back, and so, like one of my tactics that I used to do, I used to, like, write a lot more copy, for emails and clients that would come to us, and they would use us to help us write their copy. And I would force myself to write 20 subject lines or headlines, no matter how shitty they would be. Like, I would force myself to do it, and the first three or four might be horrible, but they would get better and better, and I became, like, unstuck in that process from just writing it down, forcing myself. No matter what, I had to get to 20, no matter how laughable or ridiculous or how much of a parody they might be on what I was trying to actually get accomplished, but getting myself to just move forward and saying, will I do it right? No. But you know something, if I actually put a little time into it, if I move forward, I probably will do actually a decent job, because somehow I've been presented with that opportunity, and the things actually in my life have brought me to that opportunity. So there's no reason for me to be stuck at that moment. So you just gotta fucking move forward.
You know what? I have to tell you, Andrew, I really, first of all, I think that was really well articulated. And you used the word procrastination, which is where I wanted to go, because I want to be clear that we're not talking about procrastinating for just the sake of procrastinating. You can argue this from both sides, and you just did. What you just said is
Yeah.
the counter to what I said. You almost need both. I've done the same thing that you've done. I've just pushed through and kept going until it came, right? That's back to the fake it till you make it. You're just going through it, going through the motions, putting it down on paper. And I will tell you, if you're an athlete and you're in a sporting event, you don't have time to go take a walk. You don't have
Yeah.
time to daydream. You don't have time for those things. So somebody listening to this go, well, wait a minute, that doesn't apply always. The answer would be, you're right. You got to just do what you said. You got to just keep pushing through, because you're trying to get to a goal. Technically, we're not talking about avoiding getting to our goals. We're saying, what methodology can you apply to get through something? It depends on what the task is. If it's an assignment, if it's something you're working on, if it's a paper, you have the opportunity to do what creative people need to do to get overcome writer's block. It might be what you just said. It might just be keep writing, keep writing, keep writing, keep writing until it comes together and you have an aha moment. That's very, very true. To my point, sometimes you just get you're full. You're at max capacity. You go, you know what? I need to step away. I'm getting nowhere. And then you come back to it fresh, and all of a sudden it comes. There is something to be said about that. So they both work. And it's weird that I say weird, it's interesting that you brought up procrastination, because I know that we all frown on the idea of, and Jay, I would assume you would agree with this. We frown on the idea of procrastination. We teach our kids, don't put off today to tomorrow to what you can do today. We get that, and sometimes you don't have tomorrow to do it, and you got to get it done. But I think that's a beautiful thing. You got to weigh out things. You got to know when to go. You got to know when to hold them. You got to know when to fold them. You've got to know through your experiences when to go, I know I'm at this point, and this is the application I need. This is the process I need to apply to push through this. Whether it's to divert, whether it's to just keep busting ass and moving forward until it comes, great. Whatever works for you. And again, you can argue this or debate this from both sides. What are your guys' thoughts on that? Jay, what do you think about that?
The relationship that we have with our word has consequence over others and the relationship they have with their word.
Mm-hmm.
It's like derivatives and how they destroyed well, yeah, hey, mortgage is a big part, was a component of each of our identities in different contexts. How did the mortgage collapse happen? One of the things that occurred was, yeah, at the bottom of the hierarchy, it may have been not enough due diligence. Let's just say, keep it neutral. Not enough due diligence. And I want the opportunity for home ownership. So I'm gonna get the opportunity. They're gonna get the agreement that I'll pay. And then somewhere as the chain goes up, people sold those assets. They become assets now. Those
Yes.
agreements to pay and to be paid. People sold those assets, and then people bet on what would happen to those assets. And then people bet on those bets of what would happen to those assets. And then people bet on the bets of those bets on what would happen between those, the word of the person that's going to, own the home to their self, and the institution that is going to say, we'll manage it and you're going to pay us. We're responsible for if they pay or not. Where the hell am I going with this? I'll tell you. The relationship we have with our word impact has consequence over the relationship with others. So for example, it's like derivative. Base level. I say I'm going to pay for the whole house now, the mortgage. It's my house. It is my house, but I owe someone the debt to help me buy it. And I tell them, I give them my word, I'm not going to procrastinate. You're going to have that money on the first. They say, okay, in their mind, yeah. And they say to someone else, you're going to have your money on the second. And they feel so confident in that because I told them you're going to have your money on the first. So that's like the buyer, and then the debt holder, and then the person that the debt holder said, their word, right? They tell someone else, oh no, yeah, we'll do this over here, because with the expectation that they're going to have their money on the second. So hey, take all these, 10,000, 100,000 of these. All right, now they're securitized, and other people are saying they don't even know what's going on between the person on the first that may or may not be procrastinating and the person on the second. Maybe the person on the second, like, they were never going to procrastinate anything, but the person on the first did. Or maybe the person on the first wasn't procrastinating. The person on the second, they got their money, but they didn't keep their word to themselves. That impacted the word of the party above them in the hierarchy that may have made a commitment to somebody else on their word. And this is why I think Charlie Munger said the three L's that destroy wealth: ladies, liquors, and leverage. So like our word has something to do with, because I looked up procrastination, and it says, and there's an excerpt in this book about procrastination. It's like procrastination is the only true death. It's about it's from that Ben Franklin, and I'm making an argument for how great of a procrastinator I am, because that was me rationalizing.
Procrastination is the only true death. That was a great excerpt. Andrew and I did that one in 30 Days of Thought. There's something you were saying, Jay, that stuck out in everything you were just doing. And by the way, the implosion of the mortgage industry, I lived through that crisis. I get it. I think everybody just got a little too over their skis at all levels. And so to me, they were bulldozing through, but they were bulldozing through too fast, too quickly, writing checks without, blindly, kind of a thing. And I know there's more to it, and I'm not the man to do that. That would be a Gary Malice question. Gary probably has the best sensibility of what happened in the mortgage industry. He lived through it too. He is the guy. Barry Habib would be the other guy that I would definitely put in.
That'd be a nice roundtable episode.
Yeah, those guys could probably explain it the best. But the one thing that you said throughout the whole thing was remaining committed to what you said. It's accountability. It's being responsible. And people started to drop the ball. And once others got wind of it, it kind of just went like wildfire. There were probably a lot of people that could have hung on, and they did. They came out the other end. I'm one of those people. But I watched in my track, the house I literally live in now, this home I'm in, back in 2006. I bought the house in 2007. I lost my job. Everything was done. The mortgage industry imploded. And I watched my neighborhood basically vacate in front of me. I told you the story. And now I'm going, well, do I just do what everybody else does? And then part of me was going, well, where do I go? I don't have a job. That means I can't get a mortgage. Could I really go rent somewhere? Will they rent to somebody that doesn't have a job today? I mean, I got to tell you, that was a scary time. So I had to react accordingly and make a decision in the moment to choose to, we're going to stick it out and we'll do what we have to do. We'll modify, we'll do whatever we need to do. Was I the cause of the problem? In this instant, I would say no, I was doing great. But the industry faked me out. It was a head fake. You know, we all bought at the top of the market. Somebody knew where we were going, but guys like me, benighted, I'm not watching the market. I was just happy to have the house. And anyway, so I want to go back. That was a total digression on my part. I made this about
No
me.
way. That was great.
Listen,
But
I'm
This
going
is
to
all about
I'm-
you,
I'm
Paul.
gonna-
This is the
That was
Paul
wrong. No,
Lucido show.
I'm sorry.
I'm
No.
going to listen. We all had a part. We all actually knew that these and I mean and yes, did you create the products? No, not at all. Did I actually create the products? No. But at the end of the day, we knew that there had to be something wrong with giving something, where people are able to buy with no skin in the game,
Yeah, negative
without a demonstrated willingness to pay, without a demonstrated ability to pay. And just because someone is willing to write that check and say, okay, so we and I listen, I am to blame. I am to blame. Mortgage companies came up with the products and we said, hey, something, we will do events, seminars, and have a magazine and newsletters all dedicated to promoting these toxic products.
Well, hold on. Listen, we don't know the statute of limitations. Don't incriminate yourself.
Well, listen. At the end of the day, but we all were guilty. Now, I will say this: there is one party, who I think, had somewhat responsibility that did not actually do, because we all, our job is to put mortgages out there. Our job actually is to make sure more people have mortgages. As the mortgage company, you're like, okay, and you assume that the person who's saying, hey, we want these kind of loans, if you can originate these loans, we will buy them off of you. You assume they know what the fuck they're doing. And, we're just in this and saying, hey, listen, we have this sounds like a good product. I guess you think values are always going to go up and that people will always find a way to pay this and there'll always be products to be able to put them in. Okay, we'll put this out there. And the borrowers are just like, hey, listen, you drive a nicer car than I do, so I'm going to assume you know what you're talking about. But there is actually, there is someone that was supposed to be watching us. That was the rating agencies. They clearly actually were not doing their job. That's the one person actually who's probably not doing their job. But other than that, everyone's doing. Wall Street's job is to make money, is to actually find ways actually, to take money and make money off of that money. So we all did our job. We all did what we were supposed to do. But something, I also feel like there is a micro dings of karma that I think we could all actually say that maybe we have, so that we know that we don't do it again. It's not regret or anything like that, because we did actually what we did in the situation. And I think because of all that, we now are a better mortgage industry, because if you think about it, now the focus is on customer experience. Back then, it was just okay, how do you make more? How do you write more loans? How do you become more profitable or be more efficient? And how do you stay out of trouble? Those are the three things we cared about. Now there's a fourth thing, which is customer experience, making sure actually not only customer you do right by them, but make sure that they feel that they were done right by. Make sure actually that they walk away from the process, feeling as great as they can be. And if you have anything less, than a 4 or 5 star rating, whatever rating system you're using, if you have anything less, people are like, that's weird. You know, like you can't operate a mortgage company with 3 out of 5 stars today, and it's because of actually all those situations. I don't know how we came to this point, but you know,
I have a quote for
bring us
you.
back here.
I have
No, this is
so
good. This is
1
good.
ounce of truth. No, this is exactly where we're supposed to be. The next time I speak at a mortgage conference, all I'm going to do is tell that story that I said and say nothing and let all the people in the audience talk through the clear angst that still undergirds the entire philosophical construct of the industry. It's no, this is I'm so happy this is live. It's no wonder
Live.
there's no identity. There's no identity to the mortgage industry today because,
What do you mean?
because, oh, this is freaking awesome. I'm so culture, baby. If there was one prior to the systemic breakdown, like all those feedback loops we're talking about, which the paradox is they have a relationship with identity. You mentioned the ratings agencies. They tell us, but like, hey, good, bad. It's like, your report card does help you understand where you fall in the dominance hierarchy. And it does impact your identity. So there's consequences for being told you're an A student when you're a D student, and so on. And before you know, you have the fools running things. But where I'm going with this is Alexander Solzhenitsyn said, 1 ounce of truth can outweigh the world. Let your credo be this. Let the lie into the world. Let it even triumph, but not through me. Yeah, he said, 1 ounce of truth can outweigh the world. Let your credo be this. Oh, you should choose to live your life with integrity. Let your credo be this. Or let your, yeah, it's coming to me. You can choose to live your life with integrity. 1 ounce of truth can outweigh the world. That's it. One person, one person is what it takes. Let your credo be this. Let the lie into the world, let it even triumph, but not through me. Where I'm going with that is it's no wonder it's so unclear. And people are, they're still they're in that delusion of or that self rationalization of the rates. They're gonna
Right.
come, the reinforcements are coming because we need a new story. We need clarity of values, and leadership is what impels that.
Sure.
And like, if for something as traumatic to occur, there needs to be an identity to protect. There needs to be protection. And when those walls are down, the wolves can come into. They can come into the castle gates. They can come into the castle gates. I guess in the time of this great recession, this is the true danger. People thought the walls were still up. Well, they were, but the snakes were inside.
Hmm.
The snakes were in our beds. And it's like, before you realize it, oh, we're the snakes. Okay, so it all comes crashing down. Everyone gets penalized. And then the solution, the short-term solution is to pump capital into the system. And right, things start coming back. And then there's a global crisis. And a tremendous amount of capital comes into the system because of some like black swan event. And now people are, wealthy beyond, not only beyond their dreams, beyond the actual like possibility for that career to make them wealthy based on competent education, opportunity, yada, yada, yada. And then that ends. And now things are going back to how the structure, like the cost of capital is less. The rates go up dramatically as a consequence. And it's no wonder it's so hard for people to say, you know what? We can sell this. And of course, there's a minority in there's a percentage of people that are going to say, hey, we can sell this. That's going to have a relationship with, this is my argument, that's going to have a relationship with the leadership and the story and the core values, the culture. Because to get unstuck, we need leadership. To get unstuck, we're either leading ourselves or we're being led by someone. And in some sense, it's both, because even the leaders, like, so I wrote a list of people. When you guys are saying like these people walk that you met, I was thinking all the people, the entrepreneurs I've worked with over years that walk, like the meetings is a walking meeting. Tony Relentless, Brian Hess, Mike Calhoun, Rick Foreman, Tyler Wagner, Eddie Perez, Robert Freehafer, Maria Quattrone. Steve Jobs used to walk with Bill Campbell. Bill Campbell was his advisor. They used to go for walks. Steve Jobs used to walk with Larry Ellison. It's in Larry Ellison's one of the books on Larry Ellison. They used to go for. They actually were doing a walk. Larry Ellison talks about it in one of the interviews he was doing. The founder of Oracle. He's the second richest guy in the world now. I think he just surpassed Mark Zuckerberg. That he was on a walk with Steve Jobs about talking about buying Apple back, like after he got kicked out. He was on a walk with him. And Steve ultimately said, no, I'm going to go out another route. And that's how I'm going to get it back. Like, it's out of principle. It was a culture. It was like a principled conversation. I'm not just going to have you buy or do that with you. I'm going to, oh yeah, this is what it was. I'm going to get on the board and then they're going to vote me in or something. Like he didn't want to do a hostile takeover. He wanted the people to choose him as the leader. So
Yep.
I've said a lot. It wasn't as clear as I would have hoped to have been.
But it's okay. You're processing your thoughts. That's what this is about. I was going to say something, and because since Andrew opened up he really went into depth on the mortgage industry. I want to be clear about a couple things, and I want to preface this with so our listeners understand. I've been in the mortgage industry for a long time, so I've observed a lot. I know the buzzwords. I know a little bit to be dangerous, but I'm certainly not the guy that can tell you why and how this all happened and why we got here, what got us to this point, and what's going to get us to the next level. I do know this, and I've learned this through listening to others. Kevin Peranio would be one. I really listen to a lot of what KP says. He's got his finger on the pulse. Let's be clear, in the mortgage industry, we buy and sell money. That's really the foundation of what we do. We do it through home ownership, but at the end of the day, it's buy and sell money, and then we wrap it under the auspice of hey, doing a good thing, providing the American dream of home ownership across the country, right? So that's the narrative. But at the end of the day, fundamentally, it's all tied to mortgage-backed securities, which is probably tied to gross domestic product, which is probably tied to the economy. It's all tied together somehow. So we kind of have a general understanding of that. Andrew's point earlier about the mortgage products, I remember when I entered, the 125s were just being phased out, which means you could borrow up to 125% of the value of your home. You're borrowing over the value of your home. Why? Because statistically, historically, you should gain equity over time. Barry Habib will tell you this. Your house should start to appreciate, and you're going to outpace the 125%. Okay. When we started to do, after that, we started to do stated income loans, which means you're looking up to the side and going, how much do you make? Oh, 12 grand a year? Great. You're what, a gardener? Got it. And
No.
so where's the culpability there? The loan officer knows better. The guy just wants the loan because he wants the house, but nobody's really done the homework to say, can you really afford to pay it? Don't worry, brother, because your house is going to make a ton of money and you're going to, the negative am, well, I'm going to put you in a negative am loan, but you're going to outrun it. And at the end of the day, guess what happened? The whole thing tanked. I watched in my own neighborhood,
Paul.
jet skis, freaking everybody using their house as an ATM machine. And guess what? Those people are all gone. I bought my house full dock. I want you to know that.
It
And I
would
say
have
that publicly.
worked. The math, the 125%, the history. You just nailed it. But this is the issue, guys. Nobody put procrastination in the mathematical formula.
That's brilliant. Exactly.
Of
Nobody
course,
put
I was going to pay them. And yeah, I got more money than it's worth. But if I had just stopped procrastinating, went to work, made the extra sales call, did the extra operating thing I had to do for my assistant job, it's like they didn't take into consideration human nature that we're going to have a lot of good reasons not to do what we said to ourselves that we would do that has a ramification on others.
That's right.
Because that's life. It's a cycle of life. Without asshole Jay, I'm not trying to be great on this show. I need asshole Jay. I'm inextricably linked to asshole Jay. He is so important to me. I love him.
Well, yeah, you need the contrast.
I also, there's that, but there's also, I need my enemies. My biggest enemy. We have more love for one another than my closest friend. When it really comes down to it, my enemy and I have more in common than my closest friend, who's likely just a mirror of whatever philosophies imbued my psyche that I'm living out. My enemy who teaches me, what I'm capable of. I have a relationship with my future self's quality as a relationship with my most bitter enemy, and we need each other. The coincidentia oppositorum. It was like chapter 21 or something, 20, I think, in Dr. McGilchrist, who's on the show, amazing guy. The matter with things, and in his 2-volume book, he talked about the necessity of opposites.
Yes.
Yeah, I love that book, but I want to bring this back to getting stuck because it's as if it all makes sense to me. The LTVs, everybody, believing in it. The math worked, the history, Barry, right? Never before, according to history, would this happen, right? But we didn't take into consideration the human soul.
What happens if, and your point is well taken. I go back to the same thing. People were blaming it on the products. People were blaming it on Wall Street. There was all this blame, and I was going, you know what it is? That's not a bad product in the right hands. Okay, it's back to being responsible and saying you to do what you say you're going to do. But there are also in life unforeseen circumstances that rise, legitimate circumstances that people in crisis that people go through that might prevent them from making that mortgage payment that month. It could be a myriad of things that are legit. Were those things taken into account when they designed this program? I don't know. I mean,
Fun conversation.
Yeah, listen, human nature. What are you going to do?
Like I would go so far to say that the saint, right? The saint is 98% saint, 2% prick, and the biggest prick is 98% prick, 2% saint.
Yeah.
And that's kind of where the world problems go. So it's easy to get stuck because every, what does it say? It's like every, there's a sinner in every saint, saint in every sinner, or something like that.
Yeah, I know. I know
That,
the
like,
adage too.
it
It's just
becomes a moral conversation because there's values
Mhm.
and everybody has different goals. Andrew, you've been ruminating. We all, now I'm like, all right, it's the power of silence, right? We're like, what? It's, there's so many metaphors in this. It's like you've been listening diligently, paying as close attention to this therapy session between me and Paul. What is the takeaway for us, for the audience? How do we land this plane?
How do you get
And
us unstuck?
how do you get us unstuck from this
Listen, I'm going to go back
conversation?
to Calvin Coolidge's the last sentence of his quote. I'm going to say it again because I think this is it right here. The slogan "Press on" has always. Oh, sorry. The slogan "Press on" has solved and will always solve the problems of the human race.